I think the air came on.
Yes. I only turned it on as we were complaining.
It's
I
nice.
think he might be on now, Kyle. There's 4.
It's the only one with the system when they put it on. It's one speed only, they can adjust it. Hand speed
Yeah.
to lower the noise.
Oh. Okay.
Singing the budget, Kyle. Airman.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the one season. Regional distribution. More of them. What people trying to on some of them are putting transfer roles to put them. I don't transfer too much more. What really hurt? Okay, okay, a lot, I'll take both of them. Use. What you trying to cut it? What's it about to talk to? Some knowledge on the transit. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. 6 p.m., Monday, July 27th, 2026, and the Bel Air Beach City Council Budget Workshop will now come to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert,
Present.
Councilmember Bean,
Sure.
Councilmember Goff, Councilmember Harper,
Here.
Councilmember Shirley. Here. Vice Mayor Roberts. We have 5 on.
Let's see. Okay. I gotta go for this one.
Mayor Gaddis,
Present.
City Manager Reifler,
Here.
City Attorney Trask.
Here.
All right, our first item on the agenda is discussion and review of fiscal year 2026-2027 budget. We'll give City Manager Reifler a couple of seconds to get back to his seat, and we will begin.
Where to put this?
Here.
Can you guys
Vice Mayor
hear me?
Roberts.
She just called you.
Can you hear me? I'm here. Can you hear me?
But no sound.
Yes.
No sound.
I unmuted it. Can you hear me?
Vice Mayor Roberts, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, perfect.
Thank-
Loud and clear.
Oh, great. Just so you know beforehand, though, I participated in 3 bourbon distillery tours. So from a liability standpoint, anything and everything that I say cannot be used against me.
Okay, so I'd like to start off with the budget review on going over some of the new information that I've gotten since last month. And one of the first pieces is the bridge proposal for the repair of the 22nd Street Bridge. So Gemini has provided this proposal. They gave it to me last week in preparation for this work session. And they worked with Ayers and Associates, which presented with them. They did make some notes specific to some of the things we discussed at the previous workshop, which there was just some difference in belief of how old the bridge or what the first day when it was built. And we thought that it was at least built as early as 1965, but then there was some thoughts that it could have been before 1960. Since then, Councilmember Beam has done some research. We pulled up some aerial photographs that gave us a great view of the bridge itself. And from what we can tell from a 1962 aerial photograph, it looks like the bridge was in place. And some other information from digging through some of the old developers' family records and history, he thought that the recollections were that the bridge was in place prior to 1960. So with that information, I asked the engineers to kind of assess that, and when they evaluated and wrote this proposal, and they made the note in the third paragraph that that they're acknowledging that the bridge could be constructed as early as 1955, but they determined that that uncertainty of the actual bridge age does not affect this proposal. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered that that question we had. The other section, just to compare it back to the presentation that we received. On the presentation slide, we had a professional services total at 130,000. On this proposal, you're going to have a total of 173,000, and that main difference is because they had what they listed as the CEI costs as 20,000. Technically, it was just their post-design costs. So when we made the request for engineering inspection, construction, during the actual construction phase from Airways, they added another 48,000 except for the CEI. So that is the difference. I just wanted to make clear of why there was a discrepancy between what we saw in the presentation and what we're looking at on our proposal.
So they're going to oversee the construction, or they're just going to?
So they put $48,000 of CEI costs, so that they're planning for, it is 7 weeks. And they said they'll break it up, or it doesn't have to be a straight 7 weeks, obviously when the construction's active, but they will come on site and supervise to make sure that someone with the background of the bridge engineering is on site to watch the construction. So we did get that number in. I did talk to Key with Gemini today. He says that the change in the proposal cost, there's no effect on the estimated construction costs. So they still believe that the construction cost will be roughly $400,000 for the bridge repairs. The geotechnical costs, they budgeted 25,000. They could come out more like 20,000. So there might be a slight lower cost to that. Was there any questions so far on the proposal itself or anything in it?
Yeah, I have. Well, now we're talking that the bridge was there prior to 1960. So it was clearly said that reinforced concrete, 50, 75 years, reinforced concrete came out around 1960. Pre-stressed concrete came out, or prior to 1960, pre-stressed concrete is good for 70, 75 to 100 years. That's what they were proposing, that the bridge was made in the early sixties. Prior to 1960, was just reinforced concrete, good for 50 to 75 years. So now,
Excuse me, Councilmember Bankert, would you pull your microphone closer, please?
what I'm saying is this bridge life expectancy just about up? And are we just putting this off for the next council or 2 councils down the road, 3 councils down the road? Once again, I've made a statement. I don't have any faith in Gemini Engineering. I've listed a bunch of their blunders. Now, we come back that this bridge is now probably in the 50s built. This should have been, that simple information should have been given to us at the last meeting.
They didn't have the exact information. I can get an official answer as far as the pre-stress versus, the actual concrete statement. They, based on their opinion, they're saying that the age is not going to affect this proposal.
What's the life expectancy after the repairs are made?
If I recall correctly, they thought we were going to get at least 15 to 20 years remaining service life, could be more.
And the cost of a total replacement was around 5 million.
That's what they estimated, 5 million.
Where did they get those figures? Who did they shop around? But you can be so cheap about this because when that bridge was built, they put pilings in, okay, to support the superstructure. Today, you can have a wide span without those pilings. And you can have a wooden bridge put in there for under, well, not counting labor. You can have a whole thing built for under $200,000, which is good for 20 to 30 years. So where are we coming up with this $5 million figure?
I can bring them
Yeah.
back if you want to ask them some more questions. I don't have all the background information on that.
Would anyone else like to speak on this topic?
Now, the only thing I'd like to say is I hope that after they do their initial investigation before they continue on or doing anything else, is they come back and say, okay, during the investigation, we found that the piers.
Need you to pull your microphone closer,
Yeah,
please, so it's
on.
recorded
The
properly.
piers are too weak. They're not deep enough. The soil isn't good enough to hold it. Some kind of an assessment like that once they get down there and do the investigation. The other thing I've noticed on the bridge, that bridge has not settled. There's no crack in the street pavement where the bridge and the land meet. And usually if there's a failure or it starts to sink, you'll notice that. And that hasn't happened. So one assessment, I guess, was okay. They consider it's worth repair. The only question is the age and whether that concrete will last another 15 years. But with a $500,000 investment in it, it'd probably be worth it to fix it. Hopefully that'll last another 15 years.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, I was just gonna say that I thought that when they did their presentation, they said that they couldn't identify the depth of the pilings and that's why the
I
scouring.
don't know the depth of the ponds.
That's
and
why
they
the
will not
scour
know.
side was the big deal, right? So.
Yes, and the geotechnical, I did talk to them about what they'll find. It's gonna be not so much the depth of how far the pilings are down, but it'll be more so the area of scour that they'll determine, so that they said is not gonna change the overall scope of the repairs. It might slightly change the design of the actual scour reducing measures.
Okay, that answers that one.
Anyone else? What's the general consensus here? Fix it or replace it?
Fix it. I would fix it.
I think we should look for bids
For other proposals
or to replace it. I'll send you this one from nbridge.com. It's their prefab bridges. That would,
Again, there's a question. Was it, the consensus is fix it? 1, 2, 3,
Fix it.
4, 5.
I-
That's what,
I'm for
That's-
fixing.
Okay, so there's six. Okay, so Councilmember Bankard, you are more than welcome to send any information to the city manager. But the general consensus at this time is to repair the bridge. Please continue, City Manager Reefler.
So, with that said, I think that, having this proposal, I mean, we're gonna talk about, priorities for the capital planning, which we're gonna bring up next. But, I'm going to bring, this proposal to the next meeting, for approval. Because I think that if the repair is something we want to consider, moving forward with, we need to get on this. And that it goes to my priority sheet, which I'd like to share. Where I tried to kind of list what we got coming up in our capital projects, in this coming year. And at the very top is, the 22nd Street Bridge repair. I put that with the 22nd Street Bridge, replacement project. Now, that's just because we have two separate accounts, one for repair, one for replacement. In this case, we were running the repair account and saving roughly $10,000 per year. And then every 2 years, we'd have the FDOT inspectors come. And as they provide their inspection reports, that budgeted, those funds were used to do the repairs, whether the patching or where the concrete was spalling. And we're at the point now where that type of repair isn't doing the job because we're at a scour critical bridge. And that is why we're considering now to do the repair to buy us some more lifetime. But we also need to consider the replacement eventually. And right now we're looking at a figure of $5 million, which is what the estimated amount from ARES, which they do a lot of bridge work. So I think that they have some good numbers that they're projecting. But again, it's gonna buy us more time. It's important as far as our infrastructure, and I think of all our capital repairs. So I did rank that up near the top, and then I started adding some of the other things we're proposing in this year's budget. I thought ranking up high for safety and on Gulf Boulevard, where we've spent a lot of discussion doing the advanced crosswalk signals. I rank those higher. They're not a extremely high cost. They're $12,000 per crosswalk, and we determined we have 5 of them on Gulf Boulevard. I adjusted that number. And then behind that, we just, which I sent earlier today, received a seawall inspection report, which I ordered from J. Foster Consulting. There's kind of 2 big seawall firms. You got the Rube Clarkson Consulting, and then J. Foster's kind of another big one in the area. I've used them on the South Park seawall, the last replacement we did, and they did a great job throughout that project, from my opinion. They provided this report. It's pretty thorough. They got in the water. I actually got the videos and pictures to go with it. They examined 5 of our oldest concrete seawalls remaining throughout the city. And the parks they looked at were 2nd Street Park, 20th Street Park, 25th Street Park, Belle Isle Park, and Hibiscus Park. We knew they're all old. From previous assessments, we were planning based on the horizontal cracking that we were seeing on the caps. But this report, it kind of gave us a lot more in-depth evaluation. It goes to show that the Belle Isle seawall is actually in the worst shape of those 5, and is recommended for the earliest replacement. Unfortunately, that is one of the biggest walls we have, and cost estimates. You're looking at a $300,000 wall versus, like, in comparison, 20th Street would be $125,000, and that's just the linear footage of your wall. Belle Isle's a little larger of a lot. With this report and looking at the overall recommendations, just as an overview, the most immediate replacement is going to be the Belle Isle Park. They're recommending that ASAP. And the reasoning behind that is gonna be the structural, cracking that they found on the slab. It's horizontal and it's, a little bit below the water line, but the concern is that the slab is gonna give way and then, you're gonna lose. It's either slide out from either the slab itself cracking or the toe of the slab, because it's not, showing the embedment that they want to see. It could slide out as well. So there's some failures, that are possible, and that's why they're recommending replacement of that seawall first, but, they also do have to 20th Street Park, recommended scheduling replacement within 1 to 2 years. So I'd say that is our second, most deteriorated seawall remaining. And then the 25th Street Park, which they said 3 to 5 years. Currently, I at the last meeting had, turned up saving more yearly for seawalls, anticipating that the concrete ones are going to be need to replace sooner. This report, I wasn't expecting to see such a immediate replacement called for at Belle Isle. So I'm considering, as far as adjusting the budget with this report, we had earmarked only $30,000 after replacing the South Park seawall. That was a fairly expensive seawall. It was close. I think it was 160 in total. And if through concrete construction, costs have gone up significantly in the last 5 years for these type of projects. And right now, with the recommendation that came from Jay Foster, I at least recommend that we budget enough that we bid out the replacement of the Belle Isle seawall. But I think it's in our best interest to bid out our 3 worst, to see, if there is some linear footage cost savings. There may not be, because it's really not that much seawall in comparison to what some of these companies do. But I still think it would be worthwhile, when we do bid it, to not just bid solely the one that needs to be replaced next. Just to consider cost. We don't necessarily have to move forward immediately on all 3, but in comparison to getting this, receiving this report and looking at, the same kind of structural issues we're talking about with the bridge, old concrete, saltwater, we don't want one of our seawalls, obviously, to compromise the park and any properties around it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. When it comes to staff ranking, I put that as a 1 up there with the bridge, because I feel that's a pretty important safety structural infrastructure issue for the city to replace that. Following that, I added the Cedar Drive access, which we talked about. And then earlier I talked about the remaining resurfacing that needs to be done that we had scheduled out. I did budget it to do it more aggressively if the council wished to, but at this point, given the news about the seawall and looking at the large bridge repair we want to do, I don't see the resurfacing, even though it's wanted and it would improve those streets. I just don't see that as much of a priority when it comes to capital. And then we move down, like I said, in the stormwater fund in the last workshop, I do have potential pump project funding that I have in that budget, but again, that's more of kind of potential future to improve where we have some replacement and upkeep of existing infrastructure that we might want to focus on and prioritize. And then I just took out the remainder of some of our capital funds projects, which, city streetlight program, the Gulf Boulevard beautification, that's still gonna, we don't know exactly what the next penny project will be. They told me that planning would be about 2028. So hopefully next year we get some more info. And then I brought down the other bridge along with just as a repair, which you see the slight difference in color. Some of these are replacements and one-offs, and then the lighter color is more of an annual repair budget. So I dropped those down near the bottom. But in looking at some of the larger equipment costs that I proposed. We have the large, which is the F-250 with the toolboxes coming up. That is it was due to be replaced last year. We extended it out another year. I was trying to get 2 more years out of it, but this year to working with it, the bed itself is pretty much rusted where it's not really connected to the side anymore. So it's due for replacement. It's not very functional at this point with the corrosion. So I think it's important that we bump that vehicle up for replacement this year, and I rank that high because that is a major everyday vehicle our crews use. The one difference is it currently has just a regular size cabinet, but we definitely could use a crew cab on that truck because a lot of times there's more than 3 guys or more than 2, so comfortably 3 to 4, working on a project. So for the difference in costs and looking at the sheriff's contract, I think that the crew cab is definitely worth it. This vehicle, which I was looking at, is going to be the quarter ton, roughly it would be a 250 or Chevy Silverado, just on the edge of Super Duty size, like we typically have. So yeah, that's as far as equipment and our operating capital replacements. That large utility truck is very important. I rank that high. I did talk about it's a smaller cost, but it is still capital, which would be the containers. We're going to buy containers to store additionally on the Cedar Drive lot property once the house is demoed. And then the other container would be to replace the rental we've been using out at Bayside, which is where we've been storing our pre-made sandbags for storm. That's why that's on there. But again, not a very high cost, $7,000. And then I have the sandbagging machine. That's a $25,000 cost. I have that fairly high. I've been working with the staff. We've been using our other skid steer attachment for, I think we're coming up third year using it. It's better. It's quicker. I'd say maybe we can do about 200 bags an hour with 5 guys actively working with a system. This sandbagging machine, we're looking at about 5 times the production with a 3-man. So it's more automated and definitely make it a lot easier work in preparing these sandbags in a quicker time.
Where will you store it at?
So this is it's fairly movable. It packs up into, I would say, an area of like 3 to 5 square feet, fit in the back of a truck. But the idea would be to store it in a container or in our garage facility, but we definitely store it indoors and move it. But we also would consider letting other cities use it, because it's when we were looking and asking cities how they thought, like Dunedin got a big one. We were interested in possibly just using it for a day. We never got a chance to set that up, but we feel like there could be a demand.
And what do you think the lifespan is on that hardware?
I want to probably hear it back again from the vendor. I maybe talk to some people who have purchased it in the last 5 years. I think these are relatively new, so I don't have a good estimate. But I think we could make some calls.
Okay.
Especially because we got one right over there. The larger one, Dunedin's had for the 2nd year now, so they should have some wear and tear issues, maybe.
All right.
Moving down, after the sandbag machine, I still have video upgrades for this room. I was working with NWN. They gave me a solid proposal. They're already a state. They have a state contract, so they do a lot of these Zoom rooms for the state government in Tallahassee. I'm not exactly. They already pre-bid, so they wouldn't require that we went to bid because they've already been publicly bid with their rates. But I'm not 100% sold that that's the direction that's best for the city. The idea is to get a system that's gonna be reliable, that's not gonna have wires that need to be connected. I was talking to our sound, Victor, our sound technician, and we want to explore just looking at something simplistic, all in one. If we connect, hopefully Bluetooth connections of anything out on the floor, hopefully the technology is good enough that we get, a good connection but we want to experiment a little bit more on because he's still, as far as, we're planning, we plan to continue to use him for production and for the video recording services and what he puts together for us. So I'm trying to work with him because I know on our meeting nights, when we already use him, he's gonna need a little bit more capability. He's gonna need to adjust sound, move cameras, things like that. So I'm trying to work with him on a system that we can use every day for these type of meetings. We don't have Victor here. I'm not, trying to hook up a million different pieces of equipment. Something was just easy to use and anybody could set it up. And that ideally, that's what we want for anytime anyone else uses this room, even our nonprofits or some of our condominium boards. But when people want to hook up a microphone, want to hook up a computer for display, it's even those now I'm having to come in and kind of get everything hooked up, and it's just doesn't really make too much sense at this point. We kind of need it all in one, even if it's not the best system, something that's reliable, that's going to get the job done, I think is very important. And that would free up a lot of my time, just as preparing for
Yep.
meetings in general.
I agree with you on that. It's again, long overdue. The last upgrade was night and day difference, but we have issues with this one also. And it's the people that are sitting at home watching right now. They're the ones that suffer because of the system more than anyone.
Yeah, and if we can find something that gets it, like produces good audio, picks up whoever's speaking. From what I've experienced is that most of the issues we've had up on the dais with these microphones have just been, pull it closer, but that microphone seems to get overridden when people talk loudly into it and the mixer's not quite set right. And that's what's really causing a lot of issues with the remote meetings. So that's something with Victor. He's going to come back to me on this Friday with some equipment we're looking at, but we're not quite sure of the direction yet on that. But we're trying. The idea is to get something that's going to last us without trying to piecemeal a system together that puts us in a place that we don't really have something reliable.
Yep, makes sense. Whenever he sends you those recommendations, would you forward them on to the council?
Yes. Okay, so and then it just gets us right back into sort of the things that we're prepared for on a yearly basis. We always talk about, yes, we know at some point we're going to lose condensers, we're going to need replacement. We expect that we're going to do a full condenser replacement out there before we do air handlers in here, just on the wear and tear of the overall system. The last this past year, so this budget year, we had a coil replacement we had to do, and the previous year we had a coil replacement on the same condenser out there, which is the train unit that handles the office side. So we've done 2 on that. But I believe that unit will get more life, but some of those others, because that's a newer condenser out there, that was replaced relatively immediately after the building for some issues it had. I think it was only 6 years after. But then it's been running smoothly, but the Desert Air and the other 2 Yorks are, they're getting up there.
Yeah, the problem we had with those units outside is as the hot air goes up, cold air is pulled down. So what you're doing is recirculating the cooling air within that box up there. So what I had suggested a number of years ago, cut holes in the wall so you could pull the air at a lower level, and then the air will go straight up and out versus the circulation of the air now that you have. Or put velocity stacks on top of the condensers. One or the other.
Yep. So
again, we've looked at velocity stacks and we looked at the installing the louvers to try and get some more circulation. Some of those projects were a little bit higher than we were hoping. It would definitely would improve the situation. So right now we've been budgeting along the lines of, you know, when some of those outdoor units start kicking out that to be able to replace them fairly quickly, because you know, you're gonna have to get a crane and change them out. But at this point, as long as things are running until we get a major breakdown, you know, we've been looking at these things, kind of keeping them going for like the last 4 years. The oldest ones haven't had any major breakdowns, so I mean, knock on wood, we're getting some extra life. And then again, same thing with the roof, saving on that and the flat roof. You know, we haven't had any major leaks. We've been cleaning it annually, you know, keeping up with it, just general maintenance, just hoping keep it going. But we would expect that the flat roof to go.
Just 1 second. Vice Mayor Roberts, we cannot see if you're raising your hand or not, so just shout out if you have something to say.
Hopefully you heard it. He's muted right now. Is he? Okay.
All right, can you hear me now?
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, I did find the little hand thing, so I will put that up. I do have a quick question, if I can jump in at this point. This had to do with the seawall replacement. So Kyle, if there's any chance we can talk to the designer and or any of the contractors just to consider some possible alternative bids. I know the technology changes out there. This particular technology I'm going to ask about isn't new. But they also make corrugated high density polyethylene that you can use for the seawalls with a bunch of dead men, just like you would use for the concrete. But I think it might be a viable question for them from a cost comparison perspective to see if that might meet our needs as well as come in at a lower cost. Obviously, the main question is going to be, what's the lifespan differential between the concrete seawall versus the HDPE? So something like that might be beneficial just so we can compare it and see what the dollars are looking at.
Yeah, I will check into the type of replacement. I was assuming that they were gonna, because on our last replacement that they oversaw, they did a vinyl. And I know that there's you did the HDPE, which I think holds up better than the vinyl now. But I'm not sure on if that's gonna save us costs or if it might be a little bit more. But
Yeah.
I'll get
And
the
I appreciate
information
that
on
because we're obviously not sure what the costing will be from the contractors. I would like to believe the more contractors that participate, the more competitive the costing may be. And as we all know, sometimes one certain contractor may not have the expertise or feel comfortable using a particular type of technology, and they only feel like concrete is the way to go. Whatever the case may be, but if we solicit those bids and ask them to include an alternate bid of X, Y, or Z, we can then have a fair shot at looking at the costing and comparing it. And we'll also have more time to evaluate, which lasts longer and what might be best for us. So just a thought.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That brings me up to another idea, because we were looking at the recommendation of, our code says a minimum of 12 inches you have to do for a cap. But that's a minimum. That was their minimum recommendation, but I would consider possibly looking at some higher cap options just to consider if it's worthwhile. Because we
Sure.
talked about after, the flood and the way the water came in, and some people seawalls are higher than others, and our park seawalls haven't been replaced in a long time, so there's some of the lower ones.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's see. So, and then, coming down, as far as Z-Mower, our dock replacement, we're doing pretty good to replace another dock when needed. But right now we're not looking at any docks that are falling apart quickly on us. So, that's looking better than the seawall situation. Tennis courts, it's been brought up recently. Our tennis courts have very large cracks. I would say at least 3 times as wide as what you'll see some of the other courts in this area. I don't know what was done differently or because some of these other courts are similar elevations, could have been something to do with the construction, but we have large cracking that cannot be just filled or resurfaced or anything like that. So we did, we have been receiving quotes, and that's why the latest quote I got for a full reconstruction from Florida Courts, which is who IRB used on their latest, and I use them for an example because they're right next to us and about the same elevation. We're looking at about $170,000 for a brand new asphalt court reconstructed. Now, when they originally built that court in the early 2000s, they got it with a FERDAP grant, which was a $50,000 grant, and it covered the court. I don't know if that was cheap for the time, because now we're looking at almost 4 times that cost, but obviously whatever was built didn't seem to hold up. I just don't like, I want to talk to Dean over at Indian Rocks Beach, but you know, their courts just don't have the separation that we do.
I don't play tennis, but there's some major cracks in that one court.
Yeah, like that one.
I come here from Largo, pay to park. Tripping in one of them cracks are reliable.
So if it's open and obvious and we have notice of it, then yes, we're gonna be responsible for that. But, yeah.
When was the court built? Do you know originally?
I think it was finished in 20, I want to say 2006 or 7, because I've been looking at the 25 years that we're required to keep it
And
public.
then we've done a resurface. I know that
Resurface.
Lynn did a resurface too after that.
We did do a resurface and it lasted maybe a year. Didn't do much.
Only a year.
If that, the cracks.
Be able to
I mean,
team with the Bel Air Beach Foundation as far as putting a community
Event.
contribution fund to this project.
You'll have to sell a lot of flag,
a lot of them.
and a lot of bricks.
But I think if it's a fundraiser specific for that.
For the tennis
purpose,
pool, you know,
Then-
kind of like they did for the 16th Street Pier, you know, here's a specific project that you can donate for.
Might be fruitful. Marv,
The thing that I worry about is you have almost a moat on 3 sides of that court. So when it floods over there, everything kind of gets mushy. So why don't we try to move it to Bayside? You're gonna put all that money into the foundation. Maybe you'll have more stable ground over there. What do you think?
What are you doing to the foundation? You gonna tear that up and put piling in there and then?
Well, that's what we're asking when
Yeah.
they're coming to look and give us quotes. We're trying to see if there's other modifications to drainage or increased drainage that would help this situation. See
Yeah,
what
as he
ideas.
notes, it's all marsh.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
just
it's,
keeps,
you only have all that filling, everything.
yeah, it just keeps slipping.
So again, I put that in, we're gonna keep looking at pricing
Check down.
on that. Again, we've had some money in there. The last time we were looking at Bayside Park, we were talking about doing a grant. So it's just kind of been in there since then. But
so just to put the council at ease, you're gonna, whenever you're speaking with these companies, you're gonna let them know exactly what happened and what the underlying circumstances may be. And so that
yes,
no one thinks that we're wasting money.
yes, yeah.
Can I just make a suggestion back to the point made earlier? Should we fill that crack with some epoxy or something to
Oh.
stop it from opening any further?
I was looking at what was done on some other courts and they were using like concrete, just kind of giving a little bit of life, but it wasn't perfect, you know, it was settling down lower, it wasn't an even surface. We tried to fill with an expandable, but then eventually they just kept widening and you know, there's material still in there, but it just has gotten separated. Yeah, they're, you know, you've been out there,
Mhm.
they're not great.
It's bad, yeah.
We can look, though, I mean, any tennis person we bring out there that says they're not gonna touch it, as far as filling those cracks or doing anything, because they say we're wasting our time.
Yeah, to me, I don't think it's so much a trip hazard. I just asked the question. I think it's more visually, you know, when you're playing, it's a obstacle.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't
mean, it-
tell where the foul line is or where the crack is, so.
If we move the tennis court, you could leave that one open until the next one is done. And then you could actually use the tennis court as a parking lot for the city. Or,
Maintenance
or,
facility
pardon me,
or maintenance.
or a maintenance facility, either one or the other. Just makes sense.
I know this isn't about the budget, but in the interim, we need to do something, even if it's just a homemade, get something and fill those cracks in and then
You'll-
repeat it over and over until we make it
I
permanent
use it
because
for my,
Frank's right, that somebody's gonna trip.
yeah, I use for my concrete floors a epoxy it's a UCO product and I can share that with you as two
Sure,
part,
we'll try.
you know, and it seals up the concrete cracks pretty good. But I don't know, it's gonna be ugly. There's not a good fix, so. I can-
Yeah, we've used something similar on the basketball court, but they were a lot less.
Yeah.
But it would improve it. At least make it a little bit more level.
Do we have a vibrating plate that would shake that in there?
I make it rent something.
It's kind of self-leveling. You don't really need to.
Well, yeah, but you want to get it into
Get
there.
it to go down.
Yeah.
We'll use some, anyway. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Use a backer rod and then put it on.
All right, continue on, please.
And then. Again, we got the. Like the Morgan Park improvements, that we resurfaced that lot. I don't expect that for at least another 10 years. The IT money that we had for a replacement server, we've moved our files to the box, which is the cloud service. It's been working good for us. We've been able to access it, without any issues or we've still maintained our current local network and, we're monitoring, we've moved everything over, making sure everything stays there. Nothing's been lost. But feeling good about the accessibility and the usage of it and the backup. Where the amount of data that we need to store, and now that we're using a lot of, like our software, is everything's getting stored online in their servers. It seems like a good option for us, especially because, come a storm, we can just get out and, we can get on the internet.
Yep.
So, liking that so far. So I expect that project to just get kind of washed back into the budget. And then again, we got the other utility truck, but that one doesn't get used as much. So we're gonna string out the life on that as much as we can. Possibly even look at something that might benefit the staff more than just another pickup truck. Carpet replacement, been doing as needed. This room gets a lot of rentals. It was a good choice here. And we did the conference room over there, which is also rented a lot for weddings. And we're just gonna continue to use what we got over on the office side. And we got some money for the beach access improvements. Now that was the last thing, was the boardwalks. Since those got taken away, we haven't seen a need where they gotta be replaced, any kind of overlock, so we continue to just save for the next time money is needed. And then just a touch on the marina account, we always have money set aside each year from that enterprise budget that comes from the fees paid, that goes into, a replacement plan for replacing catwalks and the sea, like any of the equipment, the seawall. Right now, I have been doing some research with some of the residents and just looking again at all the marinas in the area. It's interesting right now because of the storms. A lot of cities are doing things differently because they got a lot of damage, and they're and kind of upgrading the marinas and changing their fee structures. So been monitoring that. Our marina in comparison is more on the simplistic low. We provide all sorts of water. We give electricity. And if they would like a lift, they're required to install it themselves and remove it. So we're on like the low service side of marinas, but we still did our last increase. It was between 21 and 25. We're due for another rate increase. So I'm considering some options that I would propose later this year More so when we're looking at the effects of the tax vote and alternative revenue sources like we've been talking. So, let's see, that gets me through everything I wanted to update on the budget. And we talked about the bridge proposal, so that gets me to, I think we're on item 3 now, unless there's any more questions on the budget.
Speed limit.
Okay, so this is a discussion on the Gulf Boulevard speed limit. It currently is 35 miles per hour. Up and down Gulf Boulevard, depending on the jurisdiction, it can vary. It can be either 30 or 35. And it just over time, different cities have established different limits. We looked at the history of our speed limit throughout different decades, I guess, throughout the years. It's been looked at, considered. We've had when the bridge was replaced, there was a situation where they provided data to our city and to Bel Air Bluffs, the same exact data was given, and they decided on wanting a 30-mile-an-hour zone. We decided on a 35. That's why we got kind of the split at the bridge. And then recently, we asked the Pinellas County Traffic Division to come out and give us some presentations, and they did the speed data checks recently at the signs and the intersections that they have the equipment to do so. They only gave us the one day's worth of data, which isn't too much to go with. But we also got from a resident who called over to FDOT, got some statistics on crash data that I tucked in after the county. So what the county presented was really, get to the right page, just to go back over it. I sent all the findings that they presented after that meeting, all the digital information to the council following day. And this is, you know, it laid out where they got the data from and northbound, southbound. And then they had some graphs to kind of show where the different speeds or the bulk of the speeds that they tracked were, and they went over the percentage of speed and how they use the data to determine what an appropriate speed zone is. They did say that we had data to that it could be a 40-mile-an-hour zone. But I mean, it's data and it's 1 day's worth. I think most of the motivation behind wanting to lower the speed limit was just a sense from the community that the Gulf Boulevard was feeling dangerous, that people weren't being as vigilant and mindful of the crosswalks, and there's just a general concern that there could be an accident and it's not worth the risk. And getting through the county data, which, you know, like I said, it was interesting when I looked at some of the one-offs, because there were instances where like 5 cars on that day went over 75 on one of the reports on one of the, and that's interesting that, you know, you get that, but it also plays into possibly when someone does see someone going very, very fast, you know, because you're going to get the outliers. It's going to change how they look at the road. So this came from FDOT. This Miss Lynn provided us crash records and statistics from, I think it was about 8 years, 2016 up to 25, but the earlier stuff was a little bit more complete and sorted out. But it gave a lot of numbers of just the crashes over the years, how many people were injured, serious injuries, alcohol related crashes. But just good data. You can see where the most of them were at the intersection, most were the rear ends. But there are accidents and there are some that are serious injuries. We do know that there's some that involve DWI or whatever, because when some of our palm trees have been removed. But it was helpful.
it just gave some more data from the state that was reported up to them. It's all been verified, so that was good. And then they, covered their methodology and their graphing. And then after that, Member Beam provided some additional articles on speed. Oh, lastly, this also was just some suggestions. It overviews, it's just kind of a quick shot, but just kind of overviews the ideas of improving safety and the idea of reducing the speed is going to make a safer street in general. That putting up advanced signaling. Now, this isn't the exact signaling, it's going to be more of the signed version, but they do have ones that even go over a crossbar to grab more attention. The idea obviously is that the more attention the driver, when someone's crossing, then the less chance of someone being impacted. But yeah, but just in general, I would say, I tried to engage, residents that live on Gulf Boulevard that have spoke to me and express that, they feel it's unsafe and, try to get their support and ideas. And a lot of that, played into the consideration of reducing the speed. And then I would like to, get to Member Beam's information here because he wanted to present some articles. You ready?
Right. There, I gave Kyle quite a few articles, and in those articles, if you read through them, it basically, the data they get is not related to speed necessarily, but a speed mile per hour, 20 within the city limits makes sense. And that we have no sidewalks, we have narrow streets. The new vehicles that we have running around in the city are golf carts. We have electric bikes. We have multiple different styles of scooters these kids are running around on. And that's during the day when you have all the landscapers, contractors, whatever. And again, on the weekends, when the landscapers and the workers aren't around, you have people walking down 22nd Street. I see them many times. Buggies are groups of people. And if you're doing 25 or 30 or 35 miles an hour, the reaction time it takes in case a child or an adult walks in front of a car doing 35, the amount of distance and reaction time is nowhere near what it would be if it was 20. So the odds of them getting injured at 30, 35, or 25 at 20, it just lessens it. So I know everybody talks about data. Well, there hasn't been any accidents. But when you see these kids maneuvering around, or someone's walking down the street and a little one breaks loose of your hand and runs out in front of a vehicle going 25 or 30 miles an hour, they're not going to stop in time to prevent a serious injury. So that's kind of my take. And I also agree with lowering the speed limit on Gulf Boulevard. Trying to cross that street or even pull out with these cars doing 35, 40. It's just ridiculous. Their reaction time to stop is increased with the increased speed. And I hope with these new crosswalks and lowering the speed, it'll just be safer all around. I know we haven't had any deaths out here, but why not try to prevent somebody from getting injured or possibly killed? And now that we have all these fun little vehicles that the kids are running around on, it's even more important than it was 5 years ago when I tried to present the mile per hour change within the city. So let's hopefully take a look at it for the safety aspect.
All right, let's get some comments from the rest of the council on this topic. Let's start with Councilmember Harper.
I feel the need is there to change the speed limit. I think that it should be a citywide change as far as the bridge and Gulf Boulevard at the same time. That way it's consistent between cities and consistent between different road paths. I had not considered what Councilmember Beaman just talked about as far as the side streets are concerned, but that's an opportunity to think about that too. But I think 35 to 30 is a reasonable change and it would be welcomed by the community, seeing us being proactive in the community's safety.
All right, Councilmember Bankard.
I'm all for the 30 mile an hour zone because I think most of the residents want it, but it's really gonna come down to you get one idiot that's driving fast. I mean, I go 35 down Golf Boulevard, someone's on my butt. Come over this bridge, they're on your butt. I mean, I've had people pass me on Golf Boulevard. You can put all the lighting up you want, but just takes that one.
Councilmember Shirley.
As I recall, the only option we had was Gulf Boulevard, or are we also looking at the bridge?
I believe he worded it that he would take it under consideration if that was what the city's wish was.
Okay, and then I remember that part of the issue was south of the light, there was a lot more speeding than north of the light. North of the light, the average speed was 33, and south of the light, it was much higher. I know once you get beyond Bel Air Beach, that the speed limit's 35 in San Key. I would propose at the intersection going north, it's 35, and south, it's 30. And since we don't know for sure what they're gonna do here, whatever, it works at that transition point.
All right. Councilmember Goff.
Yeah, for me, 30 miles an hour, I mean, we say we're a residential city. 30 miles an hour we have little or no commercial presence. I think the reason it's fast between the causeway headed south is because we're the major artery to get to the bridge, and they can't wait to get to the bridge or to get home to Indian Rock. So yeah, for me, 30.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
Yes, thank you very much. So to me, it just boils down to common sense, I believe, that changing it to 30 miles an hour, anytime you're going to go slower than faster, you're going to decrease opportunities for accidents and harm to people. So I'm heavily in favor of changing 35 to 30. I also, with the new information, the side streets going from 25 to 20, another big supporter of that. Slower is better. And many of us are familiar with the fact that during heavy traffic times in the beach area, when people are using Gulf Boulevard to go from Clearwater and try to bypass things, we get a lot of traffic that's going very slow on Gulf Boulevard from Clearwater to Causeway. And there's people out there that know the routes and end up going, I've walked by there before, they're going at least 50 or 60 on whatever the road names are that go parallel to the Intercoastal Canal to try to bypass that traffic. They go all the way down to 19th Street and then cut across on 19th Street. And they know some good Samaritan is going to let them in. And so that's how, and they're flying on those back streets like that. So I'm in favor of going to 20 on that as well. And the question that came up about the bridge, again, I believe the county said we could request that and change the bridge speed to 30 on our side, as well as Causeway Boulevard to 30. They would have the right to, I guess, make that final decision. But I think if that whole sequence was 30, it would make more sense. And I would love for us to somehow convey to the sheriff's department that I think the best education for the people that are driving on our streets is a ticket, not a warning. So that's why I feel about it.
Thank you very much.
Could I jump on what he just said? People are coming down these side streets. What would the cost be to have a photo? See them on the highway all the time. Photo ticketing, you exceed the speed, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a license plate number. Is that legal for a little town like us?
Of course.
So I was involved in a number of cities that did it, and each and every one of the cities have decided that they didn't want to do it any longer because of the consequences of it. It requires you to have someone to actually, you have to pay somebody to actually review each and every citation to make sure that the video matches the car, matches the plate, matches the light signal and so forth. I know the city of Oldsmar did it for a year or two and then decided it was not worth it. So my recommendation, based upon my experience with it over the years, is that not to do it.
Aren't they easily defeated?
I'll pull that thought.
Aren't they also, the tickets easily defeated because most of the time, if they request to face their accuser, there's no one there to represent, like no one shows up if they actually take it to court.
Yeah, but it'd be a little bit different because the process it's used, red light camera violation versus a uniform citation violation, which goes to the county court.
I see.
So, but I agree with you. Police officers don't show, they don't have they can't prosecute the case, then the charges are usually dismissed if someone doesn't show.
Okay.
See, my whole argument is we have one police officer here. So he can't be everywhere. So when he's going down Bay Shore, whatever. he's
All right, so I don't have a problem at all with reducing the speed limit, but I'm not sure if the entire city wants that. We tried this once before and we surveyed the city and there was not enough interest to actually lower it. It was a few people that were very loud about the speed limit, but whenever you started asking more people throughout the city, they didn't want it changed. And so I absolutely don't have a problem lowering the speed limit, but I think if we're going to do this, because it does impact more than just the vocal people that are seeing it on Gulf Boulevard or maybe on one of the side streets that happens to bridge across, I think we owe it to the city to actually have a survey and let them speak up and say what they, give them 2 or 3 options. Jody's presented a hybrid option. Marv has presented a 30 and a 20 option, and the rest of the council is proposed a 30-mile-an-hour Gulf Boulevard option. I think it's the correct thing to do, and that's what I would recommend. However, I am not the entire council, so if others disagree with me, then we'll just put it on the agenda and vote on it. But I would prefer to go that route.
If you want to go that route, then I would say also send out all the pamphlets that we have and reviewed so they could read them and see.
I think we could easily put it online and say, here's the survey, go here for a link, but I'm not for printing up your 30 or 40 pages and handing them out.
A sign up front and the link,
Put it in a link, let them read it, let them understand what the difference in crash related injuries are at 20, 25, 30 and 35. It's a big difference. Tremendous difference, especially with kids.
Yeah. Vice Mayor Roberts, what do you think about that?
Well, my first thought is what percentage of people in the past, Kyle, when we've sent out documentation and ask opinion on different things that we want to do for the city, maybe this would be a higher participation. I'm not sure, but even going that route, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure how many people. I would love to think that 75% of our citizens would say, yeah, I want to chime in on this, which would be great. Then we would have a better feel for how everybody thinks about this. However, if we only got a 30% participation, then where would we go with that? Would that be enough?
It would certainly be more than what we have sitting at this table.
Right. Agreed.
If we do a survey, can we commit to something electronic only? Because where we get bogged down is when we try to provide them written means mailing and to everybody to accommodate everybody, and it does make it a little difficult.
We do a citywide survey.
Easy results.
Yeah, like a MailChimp's electronic survey or Google survey.
Yeah, they have, like, if we stick this to digital and possibly one other option, to notify the city. And then stay away from like mailing and returning
Yes.
and all that, because that definitely complicates things. And I don't know if it's really worth the amount of extra feedback we get. a quicker streamlined system would be ideal if we get the residents to vote that way.
Yeah, again, I'm just throwing this out here that I feel like we need to give the citizens the opportunity to speak on this. It could also be a public hearing if we wanted to do that.
Town hall.
What does everyone think?
I think a survey is an excellent idea. I think that's kind of where we landed last time when we got, we were talking about speed bumps or something and that was abandoned after getting the survey results.
We know that no one wanted speed humps, no one wanted the speed limit changed, and no one wanted a digital sign in their front yard.
That's right.
Yeah. So, is it okay if we do that? We do another survey? Let's see what the residents think.
Yeah,
And-
well, I was gonna get with Kathy and just see what the other clerks are using these days for this type of, we were using Survey Monkey, but what's the best thing?
Okay, all right. You okay with that, Vice Mayor Roberts?
I am. I was just going to say, try to make it as simple as possible. And if we send electronic emails out, and even the question needs to be very simple, I think. So the person can respond, yes or no. Are you in favor of 30, keeping the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit or changing it to 30? Keeping the 25 or changing it to 20 on the side streets? Just something so it's very easy and quick for them to respond.
I'd like to add something to that. If we're gonna do that, then let's mention, since the increase of vehicles such as golf carts, electric bikes of different types, motor scooters, have caused a little bit of congestion within the city, and we're considering lowering the speed limit for the safety of the people that use these vehicles. Maybe it'll trigger some thought versus yes or no. This just going from 25 to 20. People will say, it's too slow.
Can I tell you today, pulling into my driveway, I was nearly at a dead stop. And someone was on an electric bike and almost ran into the front of me. Doesn't matter the speed you're going if they're not paying attention.
Yes.
True, that's true,
Amen.
but if you hit them doing 30 or 25 versus 20, they hit you. There's a big difference in the injuries.
Could I ask from a survey perspective, could we have the results of the survey for the next workshop? So that way we're not lingering for many months as far as survey results.
Yeah, I don't want to drag it on.
If we could do a survey electronically, tally it and then have it
Yeah,
prepared.
we've
for the next
been
workshop.
looking this around for 2 or 3, 4 months now. Let's just get it done and make a decision and move on.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next item, number 4, discussion and consideration of proposed resolution number 2026-07. Authorize the city of Bel Air Beach to intervene in any administrative proceedings challenging the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's denial of the town of Bel Air Shores request to cancel the erosion control line. I believe this was probably put on there by Councilmember Bankard. Would you like to take it away?
As of last Tuesday night, the commissioners of Bel Air Shores authorized Mayor Bloom to seek an attorney outside of Attorney Lewis's scope of expertise. And they gave him 3 suggestions. They entered into an agreement on 7/23 with Smokler and Matthews to challenge the ECL or their petition denial of the ECL. So I believe our city has a strong interest in intervening here because if they would happen to succeed in this appeal, you would see our condo association, possibly our hotel association, our timeshare association start claiming they want their ACL removed because we've already had complaints that people are west or east of Goff Boulevard are coming across Goff Boulevard and sitting too close to the condos, sitting too close to the hotels. So this would be a strong interest on the part of the city to intervene here. It would also if this would occur, if this denial went forward, we would probably see property values sink from First Street to at least 20th Street. I asked the county to get involved. They're looking into getting involved with it. If we get involved, I think Indian Rocks Beach will get involved. But I would like to put in this resolution, have it proofread, have Kyle go out and look for some 3 attorneys or whatever, have a cap of like $10,000, not to exceed $10,000. And intervene in this.
Council?
Does anybody know what we're getting into here?
Well, it's a formal administrative hearing and more than likely it'll require witnesses to travel to Tallahassee for the hearing if it's not.
It'll be here, most probably.
Okay, so preparation of witnesses, taking depositions, if that's allowed. Actually making a presentation, prepare a proposed recommended order. Or recommended order. If you're gonna do this, my advice to you is just not put a limit on the dollar amount. Because that may put the attorney in a position where he's trying to decide whether or not he spends his time on this versus this over here because he wants to keep within your budget. My suggestion is if you're gonna hire somebody, allow them to do their work and don't keep the thumb on them. So to slow them down to protect your interests. So
No, the only reason I threw out the $10,000 is because one of our residents who actually informed the DEP of the error of their trying to remove a section of the ECL, and the DEP didn't even know it. I said, what would it cost for us to hire you? And he says, would no way exceed $10,000. Now, the smoker is charging $475 an hour. I believe he would charge us about $250 an hour. So it would be well within the interest of the city to intervene here. DEP is going to do 99% of the work. But we should show interest for our citizens. As Bel Air Shore said, we need to appeal this on the behalf of our citizens.
Other comments?
I have a question. Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, go
Um,
ahead.
This is for Attorney Trask. So we had something similar like this. We discussed, I don't know, a couple months ago. But my question is, if we were not to move forward with a resolution and things turned south, in our opinion, regarding the decision made by the state and the removal of the ECL, would there be anything preventing us from doing everything that we're talking about in this resolution? That's my question.
So my suggestion is you don't wait for the what's and ifs, that you prepare from the very beginning or have your attorney prepare from the very beginning, be involved at the first stage of this. We're at the first stage of it now, so that he doesn't or she doesn't come in too late and, waive certain deadlines or not be available to have the discovery necessary or the production necessary to represent the interests of the city. Now is the time to do it if you're going to do it. And so I would not recommend you waiting to see what happens statewide from FDEP or one of the other organizations that may step in, like Pinellas County. Now is the time to get involved if you're going to be wanting to defend this.
Did you
Okay.
hear that, Vice Mayor?
I did. And thank you for that answer. I just want to, I guess the thing I'm trying to weigh is that in any good favor that we have with the state, when they get a resolution like this, does that remove any part of our good favor over time? And then if nothing happens with the decision from Bel Air Shore and the state with the ECL, then we've kind of already thrown our card out there. And that's a concern I have somewhat. But I understand what you're saying, Attorney Trask, so I appreciate that.
Could you explain what good favor is?
Well, I think the state over time begins to have feelings for different cities, counties, organizations like that. And some people in a particular city or county may, in their terms, like they feel like they're being badgered by the city a little bit. And so the next time down the pike, we may be asking for some assistance on something. It's just human nature. They may not lean in our way if they feel the way I just defined.
Well, to work with that theory, the Department of Environmental Protection found in favor of the letters in fact, one of the letters that Commissioner Eggert wrote was exactly what I wrote to the DEP before he wrote it, and the county commissioners acknowledged that. So the DEP actually found in our favor. I'm just saying that we should join with the DEP. Wouldn't that give us good favor with the state, Vice Mayor?
It possibly could. But what I was thinking about was it wasn't that long ago. Now you're bringing up something like that. I know there was a county agency that responded in such a way that they felt there were certain people within our city that they didn't want to ever contact them again regarding anything. So that's the type of situation I'm concerned about.
Are you saying a county? I don't follow you. You're saying that a state agency wouldn't get involved with a county or a city because they didn't like them?
I'm saying that could happen, yes.
Well, wouldn't that be a writ of mandamus?
Wouldn't that be what?
A writ of mandamus?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying.
Wouldn't that be a writ of mandamus, having some state agency say, we don't like you and we're not going to get involved and do our job?
Well, I know they said things like a county where they responded with, we are not going to provide any more information to one of the members of your council.
That's an open records violation. That's a chapter 19 violation.
Well, I can discuss it with you later and we can talk about it then.
That would be a violation. That would be a violation of the sunshine law.
Can
Okay.
I make a proposal here? And it's not, I don't know that we need a resolution, but I think that it might be, being proactive to say, can we start looking at some, law firms that could represent us if this situation moves forward. So in other words, like, let's do some selection of who we would hire and at least have a preliminary conversation with them.
That sounds fair.
That would be by August 7th, you understand?
I want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
If this moves forward, it is already in motion, correct?
It's already in motion.
Yes.
Okay, so it's
We
already.
have a filing of August 7th.
How would the Environmental Protection Agency view us as an intervening party?
Well, it would,
Is that a positive or a negative?
I would think it would be a positive thing because they have more support for the position that they're currently taking.
We essentially show up and say, we support your original decision.
And here are the reasons why.
Yeah.
Here's some additional information you may not have known about. Here's some facts, here's some data. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, and that, Councilman, that's why I suggested the one attorney that wrote the letter, because he has a vested interest. He lives here. He's compiled the information already for
Understood.
free. And now we would just be compensating him to go forward.
Others?
So what I'm really hearing you say is we are at July 27th. We've got a hearing date of August the 7th. We've effectively got
It's not a hearing.
Yeah.
we have something scheduled for August the 7th, and we effectively need to have representation in place for what's happening on August the 7th. So this is really.
August the 7th is their deadline it's not necessarily an appeal, but it's to present their case as to why they should be granted this ECL removal. And
So effectively, the decision here for us is decide whether we want to have council representing us for that activity and upcoming activities starting on August the 10th. Is that correct?
And just to give you a little more heads up, whenever there's an administrative law judge hearing, those administrative law judges usually come from that agency. So they're attorneys that moved up to the administrative law judge from the DEP. So they know what they're looking at and they know what they've done. But there's usually a checklist when you file the appeal, that checklist has to fit this, and this, or the appeal gets denied. So we might not even have to forward a buck, but at least it shows, as our attorney says, good faith that we're supporting the DEP.
My opinion, based on what Attorney Trask has said, is effectively that we have a need to do this moving forward for the sake of this short time period and this activity that we're talking about. My biggest concern on the way the resolution reads is the idea of intervening and it's an unlimited pot of money. That's my only really concern. So if it's
That's why I
for a
wanted-
short duration and it's for a particular purpose, then I think that that's something that we could support. My opinion.
I like it. I mean, really, we're there. I mean, this is our best opportunity, right? We're just supporting a decision that's already been made once before, right? We're just kind of piling on.
Well, that's not exactly what this resolution is doing. This resolution is pretty much once if we approve this resolution, this council loses control of the situation. And I'll be more than happy to, I took a deep dive into it. I'll be more than happy to read what I wrote. I want to be clear at the outset. I support protecting the erosion control line.
Yeah.
Our residents' recorded rights, public access, and the taxpayers' investment in our shoreline. That is why I supported Resolution 2026-05. But the resolution before us now is not simply another statement supporting the erosion control line. It's a very different document with very different consequences for the city. The resolution we already passed formally opposed dissolving the erosion control line. It requested notice, participation, and the opportunity to submit evidence and legal arguments. It also directed the city to preserve the records necessary to protect our interest. That was a measured and responsible position. This new resolution goes much further. It makes Bel Air Beach a litigant. It says that council shall select special counsel within 15 days. It authorizes that attorney to file motions, pleadings, memoranda, responses, and related appeals. It also commits city staff, records, technical information, engineering support, and other resources to the litigation. There is no proposed attorney identified in this resolution. There is no scope of services. There's no hourly rate, spending limit, litigation budget, estimate of expert cost, or requirement to return to council before filing an appeal. In my opinion, that is way too much authority to grant with too little information. We now have DEP's final order, and it is important that council understands what it says. DEP denied Bel Air Shore's petition on two primary grounds. First, DEP found that the erosion control line was recorded in March 1997 and that the authorized Sand-Key Beach Nourishment Project commenced and was completed in 1998 and 1999. DEP's position is that section 161.211 applies when a project was not started within 2 years or was started and then halted for more than 6 months. Because this project was timely commenced and completed, DEP stated that this fact alone disqualifies the erosion control line from cancellation under that statute. Second, DEP found that the statute authorizes cancellation of an erosion control line, not the partial removal of one municipality segment. DEP treats the area from R54 .4 through R71.5 as one single erosion control line. Bel Air Shore is seeking to remove only approximately 35% of that line. DEP also found that Bel Air Shore's property owner signatures represent a majority within Bel Air Shore, but not a majority of the riparian footage along the entire erosion control line. DEP therefore concluded that Bel Air Shore had not satisfied the requirements of section 161.211 and denied the petition. That does not mean that Bel Air Shore cannot request an administrative hearing or attempt to challenge DEP's interpretation. It does mean that DEP has already taken a clear legal position and is already defending the continued existence of the erosion control line. That raises a basic question this council should answer before spending taxpayer money. What specific argument, evidence, or municipal interest would Bel Air Beach bring to this proceeding that DEP and Pinellas County are not already prepared to present? We have not received an independent written analysis answering that question. We have not received an analysis explaining whether Bel Air Beach has standing to intervene, whether intervention is necessary, whether our interests are already being adequately represented, or what specific city-owned property or proprietary interest would be protected by becoming a party. We also have not seen Bel Air Shore's administrative hearing petition because it has not yet been filed. We do not know which facts Bel Air Shore will dispute, what legal interpretation it will advance, what evidence it will present, or what the actual scope of the administrative case will be. We are being asked to authorize litigation before we have seen the pleading that would define the litigation. We also need to remember our prior council action. At the June 16 meeting, additional language was proposed that could have required the city to pursue legal action. Our city attorney warned council about the effect of the word shall. The amended resolution failed by a vote of 2 to 4. The original more measured resolution then passed unanimously. This new resolution brings that rejected approach back and expands it. A council member has every right to bring forward a proposal, but before the city commits taxpayer dollars and becomes involved in administrative litigation, that proposal should receive independent review from the city attorney. It should not be presented to the council as an open-ended litigation plan without a legal assessment, financial controls, or a clearly defined purpose. My concern is not about whether we support the erosion control line, because we do. My concern is whether this particular resolution protects the city financially, legally, and procedurally. As written, I do not believe it does. More responsible approach would be to direct our current city attorney to review DEP's final order, review Bel Air Shore's administrative hearing petition when it is filed, evaluate our standing, determine whether our interests are already being represented, identify any for Bel Air Beach, and report back to council with a written recommendation. Now, he has made a recommendation today, but I'll continue on. If an immediate filing is necessary to preserve a deadline, council could authorize the city attorney to take the minimum procedural action necessary to protect our rights without committing the city to full litigation or an appeal. If outside counsel is ultimately necessary, council should receive qualifications, complete conflict disclosures, proposed rates, a defined scope of work, and a capped initial budget. Any decision to retain experts, exceed the approved budget, pursue an appeal, accept or reject a settlement, or materially expand the city's involvement should require a separate public vote of council. That approach would preserve every reasonable legal option available to Bel Air Beach without issuing a blank check or surrendering council's control over future decisions. Protecting the erosion control line and protecting the city are not competing goals. We are responsible for doing both. I support taking reasonable and necessary steps to defend Bel Air Beach. I do not support committing the city to open-ended litigation when DEP has already denied the petition on clear threshold grounds, when Bel Air Shore has not yet filed its administrative challenge, and when council has not received an independent standing analysis, a litigation plan, a budget, or conflicting disclosures. For those reasons, I cannot support this resolution as written.
And that's why a resolution should go to a work session before it ever goes to the dais up there. That's why I brought it, okay?
Good job.
Yeah,
Yeah. So let's change it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I call it bio break.
I'm sorry.
Bio break.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's take 5
We
minutes.
can just say I'm 60 years old and older and have to go.
Yeah, Dave, man, you should have prepared for that.
Yeah. That is good. I like it.
structure. They didn't truss over. And they cut the walls out every 4 feet. And cut the walls out and then restuck them. So that was done right. I mean, I wasn't required to do it. 3 years later, they were required to do it. Now you see what's going on.
All right.
You don't get it.
All right, we're back on. Comments.
So I was in my comment before we had to take our break. I would say that's why resolution should be presented to a work session rather than just thrown out to the public. Now, first of all, the DEP doesn't represent the city of Bel Air Beach. Doesn't represent Bel Air Shores, it represents the state. We represent the city of Bel Air Beach. We're not giving no blank check here, as you state. We can always tell the attorney we've had enough, we're pulling away from it. But not to get involved shows the citizens, we don't care.
Other council members?
I'll go back to what I said earlier, and that is that I would like to get support from an attorney, whether it's our city attorney or another attorney. I mean, we've never had to hire outside attorney for any reason. I'm not sure why we would need to consider that.
Expertise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the advice of our city attorney, I would like to explore that. Just to have our ducks in a row if they present something, but I would like to see what their appeal looks like to see if there's any standing for us to get involved. I don't know. I think we're a little premature to start trying to deliver any more opinions or advice outside of how do we proceed as a city if the appeal is considered and if they have a leg to stand on. It doesn't sound like they're going to, but I think we need to be ready if they do have something.
They made a comment, we have no evidence to submit. Now, I don't know why that evidence wasn't submitted,
Right.
okay, but that's on the public record.
Based on the information, and the worries of what the condo associations are gonna do. And what Bel Air Shores already done. I definitely want to move forward with either looking to another attorney or the one that was been used already has got a lot of information, and let him move forward for this initial thing because it's so close. Let him handle it for now. And then see where it goes. But if that starts to happen in our city with the ownership on the beach, everybody east of Gulf Boulevard is gonna have a serious problem.
I agree.
And I know we don't own those 3 lots in Bel Air Shores. And we've been taking care of them for 80 years. But I think we have a vested interest in their property value of everybody in the city on east of Gulf Boulevard. And I don't think we should hesitate at all to get involved. You can always change your direction, but at least get there and be present. And if you have to do something or not do something, at least you're there and you can see what's going on and what they're presenting. Just makes sense to move forward with something.
Kyle, did we receive any direct correspondence from DEP? After
No.
they said no?
I did not get direct correspondence.
You wouldn't get it.
You wouldn't get it.
They don't represent us. They represent the state.
We would never be notified with that.
The only response you got is because I've written letters to the secretary out and they've kept me in the loop. And I've kept him in the loop.
County emailed, I think, the response.
Yeah.
All right, Councilmember Goff.
I mean, I don't think anyone said here that they didn't want to get involved or represent our interests here, but the question is when. Right, so. um, We got somebody now, I mean, we don't know what they're gonna file. So what would those actions look like before the 7th?
So we don't know whether they're gonna be filing their formal administrative petition tomorrow. Or wait all the way until the 7th, but at some point they're gonna file that petition. And then you're gonna need an attorney to be able to review that petition and give you some advice one way or the other, but you are kind of in a hold pattern until that petition is actually filed. I mean, you can have your attorney review the information that has been gathered so far by Mr. Bankert and the other people that are involved in that. And just be prepared for whatever comes down the pike once that petition is filed. But the deadline is the 7th. It can be filed anytime between now and then. But once the petition is filed, then it needs to be responded to. The ALJ will be appointed and then all the deadlines will be set. And it's at that point when the ALJ is appointed that if the petition for intervention into the case, that would have to be heard by that ALJ.
Yeah, is that a short time frame or a long time frame? Is that like a month or two lead time, or is that like a week or two lead time?
It happens fairly quickly that you'll get the order out within 7 to 10 days. My recollection of doing these many, many years ago through the formal administrative process. It happens fairly quickly.
And what about representation selection? What does that look like for our city?
So you just changed your procurement code, and I'm pretty sure that there was a provision added to your procurement code that allows the city manager to make those decisions without having coming back before the council for approval. There was exceptions put into your procurement code. That's my recollection. I didn't actually read it before tonight, but so the special, Kyle would be able to make that decision as to who would be hired and how he would be hired, and be paid up until to the dollar value of what he has the authority to spend. So, but my recommendation is that if you want to hire an attorney, that we do get someone with expertise in the area. I'm not sure are you referring to Mr. Manzo? Okay. I don't really know what his expertise is other than he's got a part of the game going in. I mean, he's got a very, he's got an interest in it, personal interest in it, as opposed to just as an attorney. So maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I don't know.
Well, he has some residents that will enter into their own private suit. If the city doesn't do it, he has a very good, I'm not going to throw names out there, a very good rapport with some of the people that are on names that are on that DEP denial. He's been in contact with them. I don't know his background or expertise in anything, but he seemed to stump the DEP a month ago.
So I just want to make sure that there's not a conflict of interest. Is it okay for this person to represent individual citizens within the city and the city itself at the same time?
So he would definitely have to obtain informed consent document from the city and the other people, because no, it's not the same interest. There are differing interests that the city would have as opposed to individual property owners. But if every one of them consents to the possible conflict, that can be overcome, but it would require a written informed consent approval for that conflict.
Mr. Trask, do you have an attorney that you would recommend that has the expertise? Or
So
can you do some researching?
I
Let
could
us know.
definitely ask my colleagues as to who would be a good attorney or good law firm to handle this type of matter. I can definitely do that. I don't know personally off the top of my head.
I think that'd be a good route.
I can provide that information to Kyle and he can copy the rest of you, or I can copy the rest of you.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Mhm.
The question I have is, the people really have the interest in those lots. They're citizens of Bel Air Beach, but the city is kind of in the sidelines of that. So whatever we do, they're representing the entire city on this side.
You don't have a real legal interest. The city doesn't have a real legal interest
Correct.
other than representing its residents.
Kind of a conflicted,
It's not a conflict.
well, it's unusual.
Where does solicitation, an attorney soliciting? Where the violations come in? I know Mr. Manzo can't solicit us. We'd have to solicit him. Vice versa, right? With anybody you would recommend.
Yeah, I think that you're proposing him at this point. That's the way to.
No, I'm not proposing anybody. I'm just throwing a name out that has gotten involved in this on his own. He hasn't charged. Well, I can't say who he's charged and not charged. I don't know if he's charged anybody. I know he's worked a lot, put a lot of hours in on his own.
I'll reach out to him as well as others, and so that you have that information and you can decide what you want to do. And then if Mr. Manzo gets your consent to waive the possible conflict, I mean, you can make that decision there too, but I will definitely reach out to Mr. Manzo. So you have that information as well.
So by our next council meeting, we should be able to select an attorney. Is that correct?
I would think you would be able to do that before, because you're allowing Kyle to do it through the current procurement code. But if you want it to come to you to make that decision, yes, we can do that. Absolutely.
Council thoughts?
I'd like to see the options presented before final decisions made.
Me as well.
All right, Vice Mayor Roberts.
Yeah, I would feel very comfortable if our mayor and the city manager and Attorney Trask, as a team, work together to figure out, based on the information that comes in from the state and Bel Air Shore, what's the best route for us to pursue. But I do agree with whoever said that previously, that we'd like to see it one time before it moves forward, but I would feel very comfortable with those three individuals working closely together and then letting us know what their suggestions are.
Council.
So are we saying we're going to take it out of Kyle's hands and vote on it next Monday?
I don't think that's what he said. I think what he said was that that we would be presented with options and that we would at least like to hear what the decision being made is at the meeting.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Kyle?
Yes, I've never been part of a process like this before. I want to make sure I have the correct guidance and to make a decision like this, and maybe possibly look into pulling in the panel or some other resource. Just seems a little rushed.
Well, you'll have
You'll have me.
Okay,
Attorney Trask to
Yeah.
help you through the
Okay.
process of
Yeah.
selecting.
okay,
And then, of course, you can use any of us as sounding boards, as you get the list, and, we can, if you pull together the information and want to present it individually, I mean, we're all available, right? So,
okay.
You can have an emergency meeting too.
All right, yeah, I guess we'll get started on it and
The only thing I'm concerned about is if they file the day before the end of the limit, August 7th, what position are we in then?
You're no different than you are right now.
You don't know what they're filing.
I just,
Yeah.
if they file the last day, does that hurt us anything?
No, it just gives you more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just want to make sure about that.
All right, any other discussion on this topic before we move on to code review?
No, sir.
So I did, so based on everything you've gone through here, so there, essentially what I'm getting is there's no need for this resolution.
I don't think the resolution is going to be necessary. I appreciate Mr. Banker drafting it to give us something to think about. And, but I think that I have the confidence that just this discussion alone, there's going to be an attorney hired and sent to represent us in Tallahassee.
Okay, just to let you know, I presented the resolution just to get the subject. I should say the
Yeah,
topic.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I didn't think the resolution was gonna, this is Frank Banker's sixth grade language here, okay, so there's probably a million errors in it, but I just wanted to move it forward.
I like it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
Thank you.
All right, now are we good to go? All right, item number 5, review and discussion of Code Chapter 38 sections on beach easement parking. Take it away, Mr. Riefler.
Okay, so this is section 38. This is subdivision 2 beach easement parking. And it talks about the accesses, explains what they're for. And then talks about the property owner decals. That seems to be pretty well organized and working well for the city. The reason I brought this section is it got discussed at the last meeting about the renter decal. And we currently in our code, as you can see, we offer a decal to renters with a process. We've been doing it from what I can tell since 1997, apparently. But if that is not correct, then we need to consider changing our code, because I think the code needs to be accurate.
Is this what we're doing?
I have to take my hat off to you, Mark, for bringing that up at the.
Are we following what this says right now?
Yeah, we are. We do issue renter, and before this, we did issue temporary.
Yeah,
Before Bella Shore wrote the letter and said.
Why
that-
wouldn't we give them a renter decal? Or it's some sort of parking permit. They live in the city. Why wouldn't we?
Well, they're not the owners of the property.
So?
And on those 3 lots, it specifically says for the owners, not for the renters. So if we're letting the renters go out there and park, we're in violation.
and that's,
Well, I didn't think it said not for renters.
Well,
It's.
you see, but that's where the quagmire comes in. According to Sheriff Gaultieri, I was talking to him, I said, I'm a landowner. I don't have any rights of saying who can use my land. He goes, good point. He says, I won't put anything in writing, but I understand what you're saying, because are you gonna tell me I can't have my kids that don't live with me anymore not use it?
Well, as a leaseholder, aren't you offering free and unfettered use of the property to the leaseholder
Thank you.
as the landlord? So therefore, the rights the owner would convey to the lessor.
Right.
But does that subdivide?
How do you rent a proproperty?
Not get a
You
music.
can't go to the beach.
Here's a.
I mean, how do you stay in business like that?
I would say that if it's a legitimate lease, I would think that the rights would convey to the leaser.
I mean, they've got the north end of the beach to use, but Bel Shores,
Because you can't ever get a parking spot at Morgan Park, so that's not.
Count at 6 a.m.
Yeah, there you go.
the marina, if you walk in the marina or pretend you're in Clearwater Beach. You gotta walk there when you park. Hey, what are you gonna do? I'm just thinking about if Bel Shores says, okay, you're not
All
supposed
I can
to.
say is every time I go past those parking lots, they're wide open. There's
They are.
it's never full.
That's true.
The only lot that's full is Morgan Park.
I think it's our job to enforce and police the stickers and the decals as they're issued to our residents, period. If a resident's a resident.
Amen.
All right, so Kyle, would you summarize what you're suggesting?
So my question was, I wanted to interpret what rights were actually, what rights the owners of Bel Air Beach have, and then, yeah, do they transfer to the renters? And if they don't, then we should correct our code, and if they do, then we can leave our code as is. But we still need to remove temporary parking permits, as
You know,
from what I understand.
my thoughts is that if you're a full-time renter, if you're here for 6 months or whatever, then you should qualify for beach parking just like everybody else. That's the way I feel about it. The only thing that I don't want is somebody showing up renting for 2 weeks, demanding a parking sticker, and then they're gone.
I'll agree with that.
What
So
happens, yeah, what happens in the timeshare and that sort of thing? I know they're on the beach, so they shouldn't require a parking
Right,
pass, but do
right.
they
We don't
come?
very often have that. And if they would have to show us that an actual lease. They have to bring their lease in and show the time period that the property's leased for.
Okay.
Well, we got accused last month or last week. Bel Shore said that we do Airbnbs here, and I got up and I said, no, we do not. Deputy Trump was right behind. I said, you can ask that man how many times he's gone out and enforced. I'm not saying,
It happens sometimes.
yeah, hey, I had 2 people on my street, okay, that Deputy Trump had to put the hammer down. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows it happens, but we do not have it in our code. In fact, their code is even more loose. They can rent per month.
I think the Bel Air Beach condo zoning permits the HOAs to control short-term rentals. Yes, we cannot control that.
Yeah.
So our code relates really to the houses only, not to the condos. So they might, Bel Air Shores could use that as part of the definition of Bel Air Beach.
No, they always give us the Indian Rocks Beach.
Scenario.
They think we're Indian Rocks Beach. They don't know any, I mean, even if they know any better, that's the argument that they use, is that short-term rentals and people coming down the bridge and going into their parking lot. But
as Councilman Harbor said, people coming out of the condos walking south, they're claiming we're letting them on, but they have the right to traverse the beach.
Right.
Yep.
I'll repeat what I saw. Across the street from me, you got 19th Street Park. A boat pulls up from. That boat was probably out of Indian Rocks Beach at a hotel. There were 10 people got off the boat, went on the dock, walked down 19th Street, went across the beach. That happened.
yeah,
And you'll see vans pull up or Ubers pull up. People get out, walk to the beach.
We can't control that, though.
Yeah,
Unless we
the
stop.
only way to control that is motorize those gates. That would prevent that. So they wouldn't have access.
and then you would be blocking people from getting out if they didn't have.
Well,
Talk about a traffic mess. I mean, if you're trying to get in the gate and the gate's not opening.
hey, there's, you know what,
I'm up at car.
one car at a time in there, there's not a line.
Biggest question going in there.
You know what? I go to the beach 3 or 4 days a week. If it's not on the weekend, I don't see more than 2 or 3 people. 4th of July, we may have had 30 people at 12th Street. All right, 6th Street, we probably had 10. That's the 4th of July. I mean, this is, as Chad Mills from Channel 28 said when he was out there doing the survey. He says, I just took a drone from 19th Street all the way down and back. Here's the video. He says, what's the complaint? I said, people on the beach. He says, there's one. I said, well, person on the beach. This is a complaint then. They just don't want us on the beach.
Okay, let's get back on task here. We need to decide whether we're leaving this the way it is or we're changing it.
So leave it alone.
I'm in favor of leaving it.
Kyle, could you highlight what you're proposing as far as the change itself or what the sentence that you're thinking about, or just, I need some reference point here.
So as long as we're all in agreement that someone renting a property has the same rights as the owner, or at least those rights are transferable to that renter, then I don't think there's an issue with the renter decal. It's just at the last meeting, it came up that renters.
I think that you should not separate them. I think you should make them the same. And you know what? If they're the same and they're actually paying rent and they're on a lease, because they're not allowed to have short-term rentals, and they've proven to Kathy or Jennifer that they actually are leasing property, let them use the beach. and put it to bed.
By means of paying rent, they're paying taxes on that property.
That's right.
Well, I'd like an opinion from the attorney based on the problems we've had out there.
It's a family.
If Bel Air Shore finds out that a renter, we gave him a pass, what would be the problem?
Well, it's been in existence since 1997, so almost 30 years they've known about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they haven't raised the issue as of now, why would we want to change it? So,
Yeah, and let's not give them any ammunition, so we make them look exactly the same.
Gotcha. So you're saying just one sticker?
One sticker.
Like that.
All right,
What's?
So you're proposing one
one
sticker
sticker.
color.
No, I don't recommend a different, I know we've done renter decals in the past, but
Okay.
Well, not quantity one
Oh.
style, okay.
Keep it
Right.
I'm thinking, I bet you think.
what?
The sticker's the same color then?
They should look identical. There should be no difference.
Done.
And then that way, whenever they start getting real nitpicky,
It's administrative for our perspective.
Yeah, it's a good idea. They don't
Okay.
stick out like a sore thumb.
right?
Good.
Okay.
We get you on the color.
Yeah, and it just says it should have a decaled distinctivity, so we have to amend that. Okay, so there's some changes to propose. And then are we all in agreement that the temporary parking passes can be removed? Because that was.
Yeah,
contested
we're
by
not
others.
supposed to do that.
Okay, so we'll admit that. Okay.
All right, are we good? All right, motion to adjourn this meeting and move right on to the next.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. We'll wait 1.5 minutes and then we'll start the next one.
When we go back on, can we check and make sure, Vice Mayor Roberts, he sent me a text that he doesn't know if we can hear him.
Vice Mayor Roberts, can you hear us?
He got back to an attendee. Change.
His hand is raised, I can tell you that. Well, it was. All right, Vice Mayor.
I got back in now. Can you hear me?
You good? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Well, in that case, it is now 8:05 on Monday, July the 27th, 2026. And this is the Bel Air Beach Special City Council meeting. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands.
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we go.
It was like. The reason.
Thanks for leading us, Lord. I appreciate that. All right, Patty, I'm sorry, Patty. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankers,
Still here.
Councilmember Beam,
Here.
Councilmember Gobb,
Present.
Councilmember Harper.
Here.
Councilmember Shirley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Roberts,
Here,
Mayor Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Reefer,
Here.
City Attorney Trask.
Here. All right, we have one item on this agenda. It is consideration of resolution number 2026-08. Tom, would you mind reading the resolution and then giving us its reasoning?
So this is resolution 2026-08, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, establishing the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 2026-2027, providing for an effective date. I'm going to continue reading the rest of it. Whereas section 200.0654B Florida statutes, the city is required to advise the property appraiser of Pinellas County of the proposed millage rate and the date, time, and place for the first public hearing to adopt the budget and millage rate for the fiscal year 2026-2027. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, that number one, the proposed millage rate shall be 2.0394 for fiscal year 2026-2027. And number two, the tentative millage and budget hearing, the first public hearing to consider the tentative millage rate and the tentative fiscal year 2026-2027 budget will be on Wednesday, September 9, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the City Council Chambers, 444 Causeway Boulevard, Bel Air Beach, Florida, 33786. Where all interested parties may appear and address the City Council on these issues. And number three, effective date, the resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. That was a reading of Resolution 2026-08. I think that it pretty much explains itself.
All right, thank you, Tom. Before we bring it to the council, I'm going to open the floor for citizen comments on this resolution. Would anyone like to speak? All right, seeing that we have none, council, would someone like to make a motion for resolution number 2026-08?
So moved.
Motion is made by Councilmember Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was Councilmember Beam. Councilmember Shirley, you have the floor.
I have nothing more to add. The memorandum explains exactly what we're doing here and it's discussion, I guess.
Okay, any other comments from the council? All right, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert.
Yes.
Councilmember Beam.
Aye.
Councilmember Goff.
Aye.
Councilmember Harper.
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Aye, so the resolution passes unanimously. And that's all we have for this evening. I would entertain a
Motion.
motion to adjourn. Motion is made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mark Beam. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
He did.
It did.
Struggle with the closing.